Okay, so our final topic is about determinants, eigenvalue, and eigenvector of a matrix. So in this lesson, we'll be talking about determinants of a matrix, evaluation of a determinant using elementary row operations as well as elementary column operations. We'll also be talking about some properties of determinants, introduction to eigenvalues and eigenvectors, and some applications of determinants. Now, a matrix has a determinant if and only if it is a square matrix. And for every square matrix, it can be associated with a real number called its determinant. For a 2 by 2 matrix, uh, the determinant is given by this equation, which is simply obtained by multiplying the elements in the main diagonal of the matrix. So the first term, A11, A22, is obtained by multiplying the elements in this diagonal, and it is taken to be positive. Going downwards to the right are positive. And second term is obtained by multiplying the elements in this other diagonal. Okay, so that is A22 times A12. And going down upwards to the right are taken to be negative. So determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is simply the product, or rather the sum of the products of its diagonals. So A11 times A22 minus A21 times A12. So let's apply this formula to this uh, matrices here. First, we have 2 by 2 matrix whose elements are 2, negative 3, 1, 2. So what is its determinant? So by multiplying these two elements here, 2 times 2 minus 1 times negative 3, and that is equal to 7. So the determinant of this matrix is equal to 7. How about the second one? Okay, the elements are 2, 1, 4, 2. So again, applying the same formula, multiplying the elements in the diagonals, 2 times 2 minus 4 times 1, and that would be equal to 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. So the determinant of this matrix is 0. And then lastly, we have 0, 3, and 2, 4. So multiplying these two elements, 0 times 4 is 0, minus 2 times 3 is 0 minus 6, or negative 6. How about a 1 by 1 determinant? So we've just discussed, or I have just shown an example on how to solve the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix, or a matrix of order 2. How about a matrix of order 1, or a 1 by 1 matrix? So the determinant of a 1 by 1 matrix is the element of the determinant itself. Okay? So since the element of A is negative 2, it follows that the determinant of A is also equal to negative 2. Okay? So for a matrix of order 1, the determinant is equal to its element. Okay, so we have seen in the previous examples that it is very easy to find for the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. But as the uh, order of the matrix increases, the difficulty of obtaining the determinant also increases. Well, the steps in the number of steps involved would increase. So let's talk about minors and cofactors of a matrix. If A is a square matrix, then the minor Mij of the element Aij is the determinant of the matrix obtained by deleting the ith row and the jth column of A. So every element in the matrix has a minor. For example, this element here, A11, the minor would be M11. For this element, A32, the minor would be M32. And as stated above, to find for the minor of this element, we take the determinant of the matrix obtained by deleting the first row and the first column. Okay? Because we are here, this is our element A11. So remove row 1 and column 1, what will remain will be these elements. Now if we are finding for the minor of this element A32, we remove row 3 and column 2 and take the determinant of the remaining elements. We'll be having examples of that in the next slides. So that is the minor of a matrix. While the cofactor Cij is given or could be found using this formula. So the cofactor Cij of element Aij is simply equal to the negative 1 raised to I plus j times the minor of that element. Okay, so for element A21, the minor of this element M21 would be equal to the determinant of the elements that remains after deleting the second row and first column. Okay, since we are finding for the minor of this element, it belongs to row 2 and column 1. So delete row 2 and column 1. What will remain would be A12, A13, A32, and A33. So M21, the minor of 21, is simply the determinant of this matrix. And that would be equal to the product of this minus the product of these elements. While the cofactor of this element A21, denoted by C21, is simply equal to negative 1 raised to ij, but I is 2 and j is equal to 1. So that would be negative 1 raised to 2 plus 1 times the minor of element to 1, which is m to 1. So negative 1 raised to the third power is negative 1. So C to 1 is equal to negative m to 1. Okay, let's look at another element. Element A22. So the minor of this element is equal to the determinant of the elements remaining after removing this row and this column. And the cofactor of element A22 is again obtained by using this equation. C22 is equal to negative 1 raised to 2 plus 2, I is equal to 2, j is equal to 2. So this negative 1 raised to 2 plus 2 times the minor of 22. And negative 1 raised to the fourth power is positive, so the cofactor of element 22, A22, is equal to the minor of element A22. So that is how we find for the minors and cofactors of a matrix. So instead of using this expression here, negative 1 raised to I plus j, we could simply use this sign pattern. Because for the first element, A11, negative 1 raised to 1 plus 1 is negative 1 raised to 2, which is positive. And then this element would be negative 1 raised to 1 plus 2, or negative 1 raised to the third power, which is a negative, and then an even power again. So alternating signs, plus minus plus, and then positive, negative, positive. Okay. Okay, now that we already know how to find for the minors and the cofactors of a matrix, let us now discuss on how to find for the determinant of a matrix by cofactor expansion. Okay. So if we let A be a square matrix of order n, then the determinant of A is given by this equation. So the determinant of A could be denoted as det A, or we could simply use two vertical bars enclosing the name of the matrix. So they just refer to the same thing. And the determinant of A is equal to the summation of the product of each element of the matrix times the corresponding cofactor of a matrix in a row. So this is expansion about the ith row. And here J goes from 1 to n. So removing the summation symbol, we could expand that into summation terms. So the first term would be AI1, since J starts from 1 and increments by 1 up to n. So the first term, AI1 times its cofactor CI1 plus the second value of J is 2. That would be AI2, the element in the ith row and second column, multiplied by its cofactor. And do that up to the last element in the ith row, okay, which belongs to the nth column. So this is the formula to find for the determinant of a matrix by expanding about any row. So in general, ith row, it refers to any row. It could be row 1, row 2, row 3, up to row n. Just select which row you want to expand. And aside from that, we could also expand about any column. So generally, on the jth column, the determinant of A would be equal to the summation of Aij times Cij, where I goes from row 1 up to row n, and J is any column. So that is uh, how we find for the matrix, for the determinant of a matrix by cofactor expansion. So this method is used if you have a higher order determinant. For a 2 by 2, we could simply use what we have just discussed. We just multiply the elements along the main diagonal. But for a 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 or higher order determinants, we could not simply do that. So we have to use the cofactor expansion method. Now for any 3 by 3 matrix, or a matrix of order 3, so 3 rows and 3 columns. So this is a 3 by 3 matrix. Instead of using the cofactor expansion, we have a shortcut for a 3 by 3 3 by 3 matrix. So we could simply rewrite the first two columns and augment it to the original matrix. So this is, or these are the elements of the original matrix A. So we rewrite the first column and the second column to the right and augment it to the original matrix and simply multiply the elements along the diagonals, taking downward to the right positive and upward to the right negative, like this. Okay, So the product of this element times this element times this element composes this first term here, A11 times A22 times A33, plus the product of the elements in this diagonal plus the products of the elements in this diagonal minus, since this if we multiply these elements upwards to the right, they must be taken to be negative, and they are these negative terms here. So this is the shortcut in finding for the determinant for a 3 by 3 matrix only. This is not applicable for higher ordered determinants or a determinant with an order higher than 3. Okay, I repeat, this method is only applicable for a 3 by 3 matrix. But if you want, you could also apply the cofactor expansion to a 3 by 3 determinant to find its matrix. Okay, so let's have some examples. Okay. Let A is a 3 by 3 matrix whose elements are 0, 2, 1, 3, negative 1, 2, 4, 0, 1. Find all the minors and cofactors of A, and then find the determinant of A. So we are asked to find all the minors, meaning all the minors of each element. So since there are 9 elements, there would be 9 minors and there would be 9 cofactors. Okay? So for the element A11, the minor of element A11 is equal to the determinant of the remaining matrix after deleting the row and the column which the element belongs. Okay? Since element A11, it belongs to row 1 and column 1, remove that, what will remain would be these elements. So M11 is equal to the determinant of negative 1, 2, 0, 1. So cross multiplying or adding the products of the diagonals, elements in the diagonals, we have negative 1. So the minor of this element is equal to negative 1. Now let's find for the minor of this element, A12. Okay. So minor of A12 is denoted M12, and it is equal to the determinant of 3, 2, 4, 1, which is obtained by removing first row and second column. So what will remain will be these elements 3, 2, and 4, 1. Take the determinant of that, will give us negative 5. Now let us do that also to the third element in the first row, A13. Element A13, whose minor is M13. Again, removing or deleting first row and third column. First row, third column, this will be the remaining elements. Take the determinant of that, and that will give us 3 times 0 is 0, minus negative 4 is positive 4. Okay, so apply those, apply the same way, the same method to the remaining, excuse me. Apply the same method to the remaining elements of the matrix, will give us the following. The minor of this element, M21, is equal to 2. The minor of this element, M22, is negative 4. Minor of this element, A23, which is M23, is negative 8, and so on. Okay, so these numbers here are obtained by taking the determinant of the remaining elements after removing the ith and the jth column. Okay, so there are 9 values, M11, M12, M13, up to M33. There are 9 minors. Then after finding for the minors, we could now solve for the cofactors of each element. So the cofactor of element 11, C11, using the formula -1 raised to I plus j times mij. Okay, so -1 raised to second power is +1 times the minor of 11 is -1. So it follows that the cofactor of element A11, which is C11, is equal to -1. Do that also to the second element, A12. Then the cofactor of element A12, which is equal to -1 raised to 1 plus 2, or -1 raised to the third power is -1 times the minor of 1, 2, which is -5. So -1 times -5 is equal to 5. And the cofactor of element 1, 3, okay, is obtained by multiplying the minor of 1, 3 by -1 raised to 1 plus 3. So -1 raised to the fourth power is positive. Positive 1 times positive 4 must be equal to positive 4. So there is something wrong with this value here. It must be positive 4, not -4. Okay? So it's just a typo error. C13 should have been equal to positive 4 because positive 1 times positive 4 is equal to 4. Okay? So remember that this must be positive 4. Okay, solving for the remaining cofactors will give us these values. Then we could now find for the determinant of this matrix A by cofactor expansion. Okay, for this first equation, it is obtained by expanding about the first row. A11 times C11 plus A12 times C12 plus A13 times C13. So since we already know the values of C11, C12, and C13, and we know that A11 is 0, A12 is equal to 2, A13 is equal to 1, we simply substitute those values in this equation and it will give us a value of 14. So it follows that the determinant of this matrix is equal to 14. Now, so that is expansion about the first row. Now, in this equation, if we choose to expand about the second row, we would be getting the same result. Because as I've said earlier, it doesn't matter which row or which column you want to expand about. Okay? It will give you the same amount, the same value of the determinant. So if we expand about the second row, okay, this is element A21 times its cofactor C21 plus element A22 times its cofactor C22 plus element A23 times its cofactor. So we simply substitute the values of these variables. So A21 is equal to 3 times its cofactor C21 negative 2 plus A22 which is negative 1, substitute it here, times its cofactor C22 negative 4 plus A23 which is equal to 2 times its cofactor C23 that's equal to 8. And if we sum that, it will give us the same value as before. Now in the third equation, it is the expansion about the third column. First column. Okay? A13 times C13 plus rather A11 times C11 plus this element A21 times its cofactor plus this element times its cofactor. And again, it will give us the same result as before. So to find for the determinant of a matrix, you could expand about any row or about any column. But to minimize the addition and multiplication steps, it is preferable to use a row or a column which has the most number of zeros in the zero elements, because 0 times any number would be 0. Okay, we'll be having some examples in the succeeding slides for that. Okay, another example, find the determinant of A, which is a 3 by 3 matrix. So using the shortcut method, we simply rewrite the first two columns, 0, 3, 4 here, and the second column, 2, negative 1, negative 4, append it to the original matrix, and then do the multiplication, take the product of the elements along these diagonals. Okay, so these are going downwards to the right, they must be taken positive, and going upwards to the right, taken to be negative. Then adding those products will give us the determinant of this matrix equal to 2. Okay, so that is how we use the shortcut method. Let's say we have a higher order matrix. So this time we have a 4 by 4 matrix, or a matrix of order 4. So we could no longer use the shortcut method just like in the previous example. So you have no choice but to use the cofactor expansion method. So first, you have to decide on which row or which column you want to expand about. So as I've said earlier, it is more preferable to use the row or column which has the most number of zeros. So in this case, we should use the third column because it has the most number of zeros. So expansion by which row or which column? I've already discussed about that. Okay. So the third column must be selected. There are three of the entries are zeros. So it simplifies our work because we will not be doing this multiplication anymore. We would not even be needing the cofactors of these elements, because if in the expansion, cofactor expansion, we multiply the cofactor by these elements. So since these are zeros, then their product would be zeros. So there's no need to find or compute for the cofactors of these elements. We only have to deal with this element, okay, to find for the determinant of this matrix. So that the determinant of A would be equal to this element times its cofactor. So this is element A13. The cofactor C13 would be equal to negative 1 raised to 1 plus 3 times the determinant of negative 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 3, 3, 4, negative 2, which were obtained after deleting this row and this column. Okay, so negative 1 raised to 1 plus 3 is positive 1. So we could disregard that. The C13 is equal to the determinant of negative 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 3, 3, 4, negative 2. So this is a 3 by 3 determinant. We could find its determinant by the shortcut method or cofactor expansion. Now, since we have a 0 here, we could expand about the first column or the second row. So let us select the second row. And using cofactor expansion, this element times its cofactor plus this element times its cofactor plus this element multiplied by its cofactor. And C13 will give us 13. Okay, so that is the cofactor. Then the determinant of A which is equal to this element times its cofactor plus this element times its cofactor and so on. But since again these are zeros, so we only have to deal with this element here. So the determinant of A is equal to A13 times C13. So 3 times its cofactor, which is 13. Therefore, the determinant of A is equal to 3 times 13 or 39. Okay, so we have discussed in the previous slides on how to find for the uh, determinant of a matrix using the cofactor expansion. Now, let's discuss triangular matrices. We have discussed earlier the different types of matrices. Diagonal matrix, triangular matrix, square matrix, and so on. So just a review, we know that an upper triangular matrix is a matrix whose elements below the main diagonal are all zeros. Okay? All elements below this main diagonal are all zeros, and that is called an upper triangular matrix. While a matrix whose elements above the main diagonal are all zeros is called a lower triangular matrix. Okay. So according to this theorem, if A is a triangular matrix of order n, then its determinant is the product of the entries on the main diagonal. So that is determinant of A is simply equal to A11 times A22 times A33 times A44 up to ANN. So if you have an upper triangular matrix or lower triangular matrix, it's very easy to find for determinant. You just need to multiply all the elements along the main diagonal. Okay? So let's have some example. So this is an upper triangular matrix. All elements below the main diagonal are 0. Then the determinant of this matrix is simply the product of 2, -1, and 3. By cofactor expansion and expanding about the first column, the determinant would be 2 times the cofactor of this element, which is 2 times -1 raised to 1 plus 1 times the determinant of -1 to 0, 3, and that is equal to -6. If we apply the previous theorem, we just simply need to multiply these elements. 2 times -1, which is -2, times 3 is -6, which is the same as the value we obtained using the cofactor expansion. Okay, so if we have a triangular matrix, whether it be an upper triangular or lower triangular, to find for the determinant, just multiply the elements along the main diagonal. Okay, so for this matrix, we have a lower triangular matrix. So instead of using cofactor expansion, we could simply multiply these elements. But if you want, you would still use the cofactor expansion along expanding about the first row or the last column, the fourth column. Okay? It's just like the first example. So using the theorem, 2 times -2 is -4 times 1, -4 times 3 is -12. So the determinant of this matrix should be -12. And this one, we have a diagonal matrix, which is also a triangular matrix. So the theorem is still applicable. Okay, we simply multiply the elements along the main diagonal to find for the determinant of this matrix. Okay, I hope that's clear. Finding for the determinant of a triangular matrix. Okay, so aside from the cofactor expansion, we could also evaluate the determinant of a matrix using elementary operations. When we say elementary operations, it could be elementary row operations or elementary column operations. In our previous lessons, we have discussed the three elementary row operations. Okay, so they are applicable in this method. So if we look at these two matrices, matrix A and matrix B, which do you think is easier to evaluate, matrix A or matrix B? Of course, matrix B. We have learned in the previous slides that the determinant of a triangular matrix could be easily obtained by multiplying the elements in the main diagonal. Okay, so B is a triangular matrix, so you could easily multiply these elements to find for the determinant. And we learned from the past that we have learned from the past that we could transform any matrix into a triangular matrix by means of elementary row operations. Okay. So we could see here that B is the matrix that is easier to evaluate its determinant, and it is equal to 6. While for matrix A, you have to use cofactor expansion several times to find its determinant. So in this case, they have the same value of their determinant because B is just obtained from matrix A and transformed by means of elementary operations, elementary row operations. Okay. As I've said, so B is obtained from A by elementary row operations. And we could see that the determinant of the original matrix and the transform matrix are the same. So according to this theorem, if we let A and B are two square matrices, if B is obtained from A by interchanging two rows of A, then determinant of B is equal to the negative determinant of A. So this is one of the elementary row operations that we could use to transform a matrix into echelon form. So according to this, if we interchange two rows of A, then the determinant of the new matrix is equal to the negative determinant of the previous matrix, the old matrix. So for example, if A is a matrix whose elements are 2, 1, and 4, 3. So the determinant of A is 2 times 3 minus 4 is equal to 2. Now, if we interchange, so according to elementary row operation number 1, if we interchange two rows, then the determinant of the newly formed matrix, in this case B, okay, we interchange row 1 and row 2. So that B is 4, 3 to 1. Then finding for the determinant of B, which is the newly formed matrix from A by interchanging row 1 and row 2, determinant of B is negative 2. So we have shown that this uh, interchanging two rows of A produces this one. Determinant of the new matrix is equal to the negative determinant of the previous matrix. Okay. Number 2. If B is obtained from A by adding a multiple of a row of A to another row of A. So this is another elementary row operation. Then it follows that the determinant of B is just the same as the determinant of A. So you will not change the value of determinant if we add a multiple of a row to another row of A. For example, if we multiply row 1 by 2 and add that to row 2. So that is elementary row operation number 2. Adding a multiple of one row and add that to another row. So 2 times 2 plus 4 would be equal to uh, we multiply the first row by negative 2 rather. Okay? Multiply this row, first row, by negative 2 and add it to the second row. So 2 times negative 2 plus 4 would be 0. So it is this element. Okay? And then negative 2 times 1 plus 3 is negative positive 1. So the newly formed matrix, by implementing this elementary row operation, multiplying row 1 by negative 2 and adding it to row 2 will produce this new matrix B, which is equal to 2, 1, 0, 1. Finding for the determinant, 2 times 1 minus 0 is 2. So they have the same value. The determinant of the original matrix is the same as the determinant of the newly formed matrix using this elementary row operation number 2. And the third one, if B is obtained from A by multiplying a row of A by a non-zero constant C, then the determinant of B is equal to C times the determinant of A. Okay? So if you multiply a row by any number which is not equal to 0, then the determinant of the newly formed matrix is simply the determinant of the old matrix times that non-zero constant. For example, okay, if we multiply row 1 of A by 3 to give us a new matrix B equal to 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, so B would be 6, 3, and 4, 3. Taking the determinant of B, 6, which is equal to 3 times 2. So we've proven this third operation. Determinant of the new matrix is equal to the product of the non-zero constant times the determinant of the old matrix. And we could also take a common factor out of a row, and it will not change the value of the determinant. Okay, so let us have some example uh, showing the use of these elementary row operations. Find the determinant of A. Okay, the elements of A are 2, negative 3, 10, 1, 2, negative 2, 0, 1, negative 3. Now, if interchange, okay, so if interchange row 1 and row 2 of this matrix, what should we do? We have to introduce negative 1 because according to elementary row operation 1, if you interchange any two rows of a matrix, then the determinant of the new matrix is equal to the negative of the determinant of the old matrix. Okay, so interchanging these two rows will give us this determinant. Remember, every time you interchange any two rows, you have to multiply it by -1. If we multiply row 1 by -2 and add it to row 2, the value of the determinant will not change. Okay, so if we multiply row 1 by -2, let's say 1 times -2 and add it to row 2, so -2 plus 2 will give us 0. Then the next element would be 2 times -2 plus -3 is -7. Okay, so and then the third element is -2 times -2 is +4 plus 10 will give us 14. So this is the new matrix, and we did not introduce -1 because according to the previous theorem, okay, multiplying a row by any number except 0 and adding that to another row will not change the value of the determinant. Okay, so we only need to introduce -1 if we interchange two rows. Okay, then we could also factor out a common factor of any row. So in this case, row 2 has a common factor. If we factor out -7, we will have -7 times -1 will give us 7, and it will not change the value of the determinant. So row 2 will now become 0, 1, -2. If we multiply row 2 by -1 and add it to row 3, okay, it will not change the value of the determinant. Doing that will give us 7 times the determinant of 1, 2, -2, 0, 1, -2, 0, 0, -1. So this is obtained by multiplying row 2 and adding it to the old row 3. So we have done this in our previous discussions. We learned how to transform a matrix into row echelon form. So we apply those principles we've learned in the past. Okay. So now we have a diagonal, or rather triangular matrix. So we could simply multiply the elements in the main diagonal to get the determinant of this matrix. Okay, and that would be equal to 1 times 1 times -1 is -1 times 7. Then the determinant of A is -7. Okay. So although Theorem 3.3 was stated in terms of elementary row operations, the theorem remains valid if the word row is replaced by the word column. So instead of elementary row operations, we could call it elementary column operations, and the roles doesn't change. Okay, the rules applicable for elementary row operations are also applicable to elementary column operations. So operations performed on the column of a matrix are called elementary column operations. So two matrices are called column equivalent if one can be obtained from the other by elementary column operations. So just like elementary row operations, two matrices are equivalent if one could be obtained from the other by using elementary row operations. So that is also true with elementary column operations. Okay, let's have an example. Find the determinant of A, which is a 3 by 3 matrix. So this time we'll apply elementary column operations instead of elementary row operations. So we multiply column 1 by -2 and add it to column 2. Okay? So that will produce -1, 0, 2, 3, 0, 4, 5, 0, -3. Now, if we expand about the second column, we would see that the determinant of this matrix is equal to 0. Because 0 times the cofactor of this element plus 0 times its cofactor plus 0 times its cofactor is still 0. Okay? Expansion by the second column will produce this result, which is equal to 0. So, it is easier to find for the determinant if we transform the original matrix first. Okay? By simply multiplying column 1 by negative 2 and adding it to column 2, we were able to find or determine the value of the determinant easily. Okay? Okay, conditions that yield a zero determinant. If A is a square matrix and any one of the following conditions is true, then the determinant of the matrix is 0. So if any of these three statements are true, then the value of the determinant of the matrix is 0. So number 1, an entire row or an entire column consists of zeros. So if there is a row or a column which consists entirely of zeros, it follows that the determinant of that matrix is also 0. Okay. Two rows or columns are equal. If, let's say, for example, row 1 and row 2 have the same elements, then they are said to be equal. Then the determinant of that matrix would be 0. Okay? That is also true to columns. If there are two identical columns or equal columns, then the determinant of that matrix would be 0. And lastly, if one row or one column is a multiple of another row or another column, then the determinant of that matrix is 0. Okay, let's have some illustrations. This is a matrix wherein row 1, one of its rows is consists entirely of zeros, then it follows no need to compute. Automatically, the determinant of this matrix is equal to 0 according to this theorem. But if you try to compute that using cofactor expansion, we'll find out that it is actually equal to 0. Okay, so in illustration of statement number 2, two rows are equal. So row 1 is exactly equal to row 3, then the determinant of this matrix according to this theorem is equal to 0. You could try to compute using shortcut method or the cofactor expansion method to prove that it is actually equal to 0. Because if we multiply row 1 by negative 1 and add to row 3, it will make all the elements in row 3 equal to 0, which gives us statement number 1. Then, two columns. The second column is a multiple of the first column. Okay, so multiplying column 1 by negative 3 will give us column 3. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. So determinant of that matrix would be 0. Okay, more examples. So this is a 3 by 3 matrix. So what do you think is the determinant of this matrix? Are there rows or columns which consist entirely of zeros? None. So next question, are there rows that are equal or columns that are equal? None so far. Is there a row or column that is a multiple of another row or another column for matrix 1? No, none. Now, if we apply elementary row operation number 2. Okay, we multiply row 1 by a number, in this case negative 2, and add it to row 2. What will happen? So 1 times negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8, minus 1 will give us negative 9. Okay, so the new matrix would be this one. Again, inspect if there are now rows or columns that are a multiple of each of another row. So these two rows, if you multiply row 2 by 2, by negative 2 rather, will give us row 3. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times negative 9 is 18, 2 times negative 2 is 4. So row 2 is a multiple of row 3, and therefore, according to the previous theorem, the determinant of this matrix would be 0. Okay. About this matrix, are there rows or columns that are equal or multiple of each other? If we multiply row or column 1 by 2 and add it to column 3, will give us this matrix. Okay, so it produces a row with several zeros. So we could expand about this row to find for the determinant of this matrix, and that will give us a value of 3. Okay, so this is a combination of the principles that we have just discussed in the previous slides. Okay, another example, we have a fairly large matrix, 5 by 5 matrix, or a matrix of order 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Without the use of elementary row operations or elementary column operations, it would be tedious to find for the determinant of this matrix. Okay. Looking at column 2, there are two zeros. And starting with that, we could add row 2 to row 4. And we could multiply row 2 by negative 1 and add that to row 5. Okay, doing that will give us this new matrix. So we did not change the value of the determinant because we multiplied a row by a number and add it to another row. We did not interchange any row or any column. So we will not introduce a negative sign here. Okay, so the value of the determinant remains the same. Okay, so adding this row to this row, negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. 1 plus negative 1 is 0. 3 plus 2 will give us 5. 2 plus 4 will give us 6. Negative 1 plus negative 3 will give us negative 4. And second operation, negative 2 times negative 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, plus 1 is 0, and so on. Okay, so we now have a row and a column which is composed mainly of zeros. So if you look at column 2, there's only one element that is non-zero. So we could make use of this column and apply the cofactor expansion to solve for the determinant of this matrix A. Okay, so we only need to find for the cofactor of this element because the others are 0. Then determinant of A will be equal to this element times its cofactor, which is this one. So we still have a 4 by 4 matrix. So we have to evaluate the determinant of this 4 by 4 matrix by cofactor expansion. To select row 4, which has several zero elements, or we apply elementary column operation to column 4. Okay, multiply column 1 by -3 and add it to column 4 will give us this matrix. So we now have row 4, which consists mainly of zero elements. Okay, so there's only one non-zero element. We could make use of this element to find for the determinant of this 4 by 4 matrix. Then will give us this one. So we now have a 3 by 3. We have the option to use the shortcut or the cofactor expansion method. Okay, so we apply elementary row operation. We add row 2 to row 1, which will produce this new matrix. So now we remove this because it is simply equal to 1. 1 times -1 raised to 4 plus 4 is +1. Okay, so we could now expand along the first row to find for the determinant of matrix A. And that is equal to -135. Okay, so let's talk about properties of determinants by showing an example first. Okay, find the determinant of A, determinant of B, and determinant of AB for the matrices A and B. So we have A, a 3 by 3 matrix, and B, another 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so finding for the determinant of A by the previous methods that we have learned will give us -7. Determinant of B is 11. And then multiplying the determinant of A and determinant of B gives us -77. -7 times 11 is -77. Multiplying A with B, A by B will give us this matrix. So we learned in our previous lessons how to multiply two matrices. Okay, so AB, product of AB is this matrix. Let's find for the determinant of AB, which is equal to -77. And we have shown that determinant of AB is simply equal to the product of the determinant of A times the determinant of B. Okay, which gives us this theorem 3.5. If A and B are square matrices of order n, then determinant of the product of AB, it is equal to the determinant of A times the determinant of B. So we have shown this theorem, the proof of this theorem in the previous example. Okay. So the determinant of the product of several matrices of the same size, okay, is equal to the product of the determinant of each matrix. So it is not only applicable to two matrices but n or more, two or more matrices. Theorem 3.6, determinant of a scalar multiple of a matrix. If A is an n by n matrix and C is a scalar, then the determinant of CA, the scalar product of C and A, is given by determinant of CA, and that is equal to C raised to n times determinant of A. So if B is obtained from A by multiplying a row of A by an non-zero constant C, then determinant of B is equal to C times determinant of A. Example, find the determinant of the matrix A. So A is a 3 by 3 matrix. We could factor out common factors from row 1. Okay. 10 is a common factor, so factoring out 10 will give us this new matrix. 10 times 1 negative 2 4 3 0 5 negative 2 negative 3 and 1. Okay. So 10 is a common factor of all the elements of A. And that is equal to determinant of 1, negative 2, 4, 3, 0, 5, negative 2, negative 3, 1 is 5. Therefore, the determinant of A is equal to 5,000. That is 1,000 times 5. Okay. Another theorem regarding properties of determinants. A square matrix A is invertible or non-singular if and only if the determinant of A equals, or rather is not equal to 0. So this is a very important theorem that you have to remember. A matrix is non-singular if its determinant is not equal to 0. Or, in other words, a matrix is singular if its determinant is equal to 0. So, non-singular or invertible. Okay? A singular matrix is non-invertible. And if A is invertible, then the determinant of the inverse of A is equal to 1 over the determinant of A. Okay? So if a matrix is invertible, there is an inverse of that matrix. So if A is invertible, then the product of A and its inverse will give us an identity matrix. Okay, so which of the matrices, these two matrices, has an inverse? So we learned from the previous slide that a matrix is invertible if its determinant is not equal to 0. So check whether the determinant of these matrices are 0. If it is 0, then it has no inverse. So inspecting matrix A, we could see that column 2 is a multiple of column 3. Multiplying column 3 by negative 2 will give us column 2. Isn't it? So negative 1 dash negative 2 is 2, negative 1, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. So this will make, these two are a multiple of each other, and according to our previous discussion, if there are two rows or two columns which are a multiple of each other, then the determinant is 0. So therefore A has no inverse. Okay? Since the determinant of A is 0, it is singular and non-invertible. Okay? While B, its determinant is not equal to 0, therefore it is non-singular and it has an inverse. A has no inverse. Okay. For the following matrix, find the determinant of the inverse of A. So the determinant of A is equal to 4. And the determinant of the inverse of A is equal to 1 over the determinant of A. That is equal to 1 over 4. Therefore, okay, so these are equivalent conditions for a non-singular matrix. If A is an n by n matrix, then the following statements are equivalent. They are all the same. One, A is invertible, which is the same as determinant of A is not equal to 0. So all of these statements refer to the same thing, or they are equivalent. Now let's look at the determinant of a transpose of a matrix. According to this theorem, if A is a square matrix, then the determinant of A is equal to the determinant of its transpose. Okay. Show that the determinant of A is equal to the determinant of A transpose for the following matrix. Okay, we'll show in this example that this theorem is true. Okay, so we learned from our previous discussions how to transpose a given matrix. So we simply interchange the rows and columns to get the transpose of a matrix. So let us first find for the determinant of A by expanding about the second row. So the determinant of A is equal to negative 6. Okay, so the transpose of A is obtained by interchanging the rows and columns of the original matrix. So column 1 will become column 1 of the old matrix will be the row 1 of the new matrix, or the transpose of the matrix. So first column 3 to negative 4 will become the first row of the transpose. Second column of the original matrix will become the second row of the transpose. And the third column will become the third row of the transpose of the matrix. So A transpose is now this matrix. Finding the determinant by expanding about the second column will give us negative 6. So we have shown that the determinant of A is equal to the determinant of its transpose, which proves this theorem. Okay. So thus the determinant of A is equal to the determinant of A transpose. Okay, so let's look at some applications of determinants. One is that we could find the adjoint of a matrix by using determinants. So if A is a square matrix, then the matrix of cofactors of A has the form C11, C12. So this is the matrix of the cofactors of A. The transpose of this matrix is called the adjoint of A and is denoted by ADJA. And adjoint of A is equal to the transpose of the matrix of the cofactors of A. Okay, example, find the adjoint of A, which is a 3 by 3 matrix. So first, we have to find for the cofactors of all these elements, which is found by removing this row, this column. So this one will remain. This is this matrix here. Negative 2, 1, 0, negative 2. Removing first row, second column will give us 0, 1, 1, negative 2, which is this one. And using the alternating patterns, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. Then it will give us these values. 4, 1, 2, 6, 0, 3, 7, 1, 2. Okay? This is the matrix of the cofactors of this matrix. Then the adjoint of A of this matrix is equal to the transpose of this form newly formed matrix. So adjoint of A is equal to the first column will become the first row, second column will become the second row, third column will become the third row. So this is now the adjoint of this matrix. A. The inverse of a matrix given by its adjoint. So we could find for the inverse of a matrix by using its adjoint. So according to this theorem, if A is an n by n invertible matrix, then the inverse of A is equal to 1 over the determinant of A times the adjoint of A. So we could easily find for the inverse of a matrix by using its adjoint and dividing it by the determinant of the matrix. If A is a 2 by 2 matrix, then the adjoint of A is given by this equation. From theorem 3.10, the inverse of A is 1 over the inverse of A times adjoint of A. And for a 2 by 2 matrix, it is equal to this equation. Okay, let's have an example. Use the adjoint of A to find its inverse. Okay, so to find for the adjoint of A, we have to find for the cofactors of the matrix and then take the transpose of that. Okay, so the determinant of A is equal to 3. Then the adjoint of A by finding for the cofactors and taking the transpose of that. So this is the same matrix as that of the previous slide, previous example. Okay, so we were able to obtain the adjoint in the previous slide. You could rewind your video to verify. Okay, so the inverse of A now is equal to 1 over the determinant of A times the adjoint of A. So the 1 over the determinant of A is 1/3 times the adjoint, and multiplying each element by 1/3 will give us this one, which is the inverse of this matrix. Okay, so that is one application of determinants, finding the inverse of a matrix. So to check whether you got the correct inverse, you multiply the original matrix by the matrix you were able to obtain and check whether it is an identity matrix. If not, then the inverse you computed is not correct. Okay? The product of a matrix and its inverse must always be equal to an identity matrix. Okay, another application of determinants is the Cramer's rule. The Cramer's rule is stated like this. If a system of n linear equations in n variables has a coefficient matrix with a non-zero determinant, in other words, non-singular, then the solution of the system is given by these equations. X of 1 is equal to the determinant of A1 divided by the determinant of A. X of 2 is equal to the determinant of A2 divided by the determinant of A, and so on up to the last variable x of n, which is equal to the determinant of a sub n divided by the determinant of a, where the ith column of A is the column of constants in the system of equations. Okay, so let's say we have these linear systems of equations. A11 x of 1 plus A12 x of 2 plus A13 x of 3 is equal to B1. Second equation, A12 x of 1 plus A22 x of 2, and so on. Then, to obtain x of 3, for example, x of 3 would be equal to the determinant of A3 divided by the determinant of A. A is the coefficient matrix of the linear system, and A3 is obtained from A by changing the third column by the constants. Okay? So A3 now is this matrix. So the third column was replaced by these constants B1, B2, B3. So that is A3 divided by the determinant of A. Okay, so let's have a more specific example on how to use the Cramer's rule. So we have three equations, three unknowns, x, y, and z. So first is to form the coefficient matrix A. So we should solve the system of linear equation for x, y, and z. Okay, so the coefficient matrix A are the coefficients obtained from the coefficients of the equations -1, 2, -3, 2, 0, 1, 3, -4, and 4. Then take the determinant of A, which is found to be 10. Next, so A is invertible. So there is a unique solution for this linear system. Then x is equal to the determinant of A1 over the determinant of A, where A1 is obtained from A by replacing the first column with the constants 1, 0, 2. So instead of -1, 2, 3, A1 should have 1, 0, 2 in its first column. Okay? Then take the determinant of that by expanding about second row, dividing it by 10 will give us the value of x, which is equal to 4 over 5. Solving for y and z, okay? So y would be equal to A2 over determinant of A. So A2 would be obtained from A by replacing column 2 with these constants. And for z, for the variable z, A3 would be equal to the original matrix but replace the last column with the these constants. Okay? So that is the Cramer's rule. Another application of determinants is in the determination of the area of a triangle or any polygon for that matter, as long as you know the coordinates of the vertices of that polygon. Okay, so let's talk about the triangle first. The area of a triangle whose vertices are x sub 1, y sub 1, this vertex here, x sub 2, y sub 2, and the third vertex whose coordinates are x sub 3, y sub 3. The area is given by this equation. Area is equal to 1/2 times the determinant of x1, y1, 1, x2, y2, 1, x3, y3, 1, where the sign plus or minus is chosen to give a positive area. So this sign plus or minus is not necessary if you take the points into a counterclockwise direction. It will always give you a positive area. But if you take the coordinates in a clockwise direction, it will give you a negative value. Okay, so in that case, you could use plus or minus to have a positive area, because no area is negative. It is always positive. Now let us show that this equation is true. Okay? Proof: the area of this shaded triangle, this blue shaded triangle, could be obtained by getting the sum of the area of this trapezoid here in the left plus the trapezoid here in the right minus the trapezoid below. Okay? So recall that the formula for the area of a trapezoid is equal to 1/2 the sum of its parallel sides multiplied by its altitude. So that is 1/2 times the average of these two parallel sides, y1 and y3. So y1 plus y3 divided by 2 is the average multiplied by the altitude. x3 minus x1. So that is for this trapezoid here, plus the area of this trapezoid minus the area of this trapezoid below will give us the area of the shaded triangle, and that is equal to this one. And we know from previous discussions that this is the determinant of this matrix. Okay, so we have shown that the area of this triangle given the vertices x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 is equal to this one. Okay, so to find for the area, we simply evaluate the determinant and multiply it by 1/2. Example, find the area of the triangle whose vertices are these 3 points here, 1, 0, 2, 2, 4, 3. If you take these points in a counterclockwise direction, you will get a positive value. But if you take them in a clockwise direction, you will get a negative value. Okay. So x1 is 1, y1 is 0, x2 is 2, y2 is 2. So we are taking the points in a clockwise direction, and this will give us a negative value. So negative 3/2. We just apply the plus or minus sign in front. Okay, so since we took the vertices in a clockwise direction, it gave us a negative value, negative 3/2. So we just multiply it by negative 1 to have an area of 3.5. So the area is 3/2, the area of this triangle here. Okay, another example, find the area of the triangle whose vertices are 0, 1, 2, 2, and 4, 3. So we could clearly see in this graph that it is not actually a triangle, it is a straight line. So if we solve for the area of this, it would be equal to 0 because there is no area of a line. So using the same method, it gives us an area of 0, which is correct because we have a line instead of a triangle. So these 3 points are not the vertices of a triangle, but are the points of a straight line. So 3 points in the xy plane lie on the same line. So this is another way to determine whether 3 points are collinear. Okay? If the area is 0, then we could say that these 3 points lie along a straight line. If the area is not 0, then they are not collinear. Okay, collinear points and line equation. Test for collinear points in the xy plane. 3 points x1, y1, x2, y2, and x3, y3 are collinear if and only if the determinant of their vertices, is equal to 0. So we have seen that in the previous example. Then we have the 2-point form of the equation of a line, an equation of the line passing through the distinct points x, y, x1, y1, x2, y2 is given by this determinant. Okay? Through the distinct points x1, y1, x2, y2, and xy is given by this. It must be equal to 0. So the third point is xy. Okay? So we could find for the equation of the line which passes through these 3 points by means of this. Okay. Last example. Find the equation of the line passing through the points 2, 4, and negative 1, 3. So the third point would be the point xy. Could find for the equation of the line passing through the 2 points 2, 4, and negative 1, 3 by equating this determinant to 0. Expanding by using cofactor expansion about the first row will give us x minus 3y plus 10 equals 0. Then the equation of the line is x minus 3y equals negative 10. So this is the equation of the line passing through 2, 4 and negative 1, 3. So we have seen with these examples some applications of the determinants. We could find for the adjoint of a matrix, we could find or solve for the inverse of a matrix by means of determinants. We could find for the area of a triangle by means of determinants. We could find for the equation of a line passing through 2 points by means of determinants. So these are just some of the applications of determinants. So this concludes our discussion about determinants.